Cabinet have taken. As we reported, the Yes Bank reconstruction scheme has been approved. Now, what is important to note is when that scheme will be notified. As far as SBI is concerned, not much by way of new information. The news that's flashing on your screens is a confirmation of what we have been discussing. It is ICICI Bank, one of the private sector investors that will pick up in excess of 5% in Yes Bank. The board of ICICI Bank has approved an investment of 1,000 crore rupees in Yes Bank via equity. Other names that have been doing the rounds are the likes of the HDFC Group, but ICICI Bank, first off the bat, with a confirmation, will be acquiring 100 crore equity shares in Yes Bank at 10 rupees a share. Now, what the Finance Minister did point out is that once this scheme is notified, within 3 working days, the moratorium imposed on Yes Bank will be lifted, which means that the withdrawal limits, etc., those restrictions will go. But that is once the scheme is notified. We don't know whether the scheme is going to be notified in the next 24 to 48 hours. The expectation will be that it will be notified shortly. So that's an important point coming in there. And then, of course, the board restructuring, etc., will take place within 7 working days. Ritu Singh with us. Ritu, ICICI Bank, first off the bat, with a confirmation on its investment in Yes Bank.
I think this was a long expected line, as several reports have been suggested, and we've also been speaking to these banks. Besides ICICI Bank, that has now announced an investment of 1,000 crore rupees and a stake not exceeding 5%. We are expecting some other private banks to also, make such disclosures to the exchanges. But if you, roughly do the math, SBI yesterday said it will hold 49% by taking up 725 crore shares. So if you work out the 100% equity shares would be about 1480 crore shares, which means a maximum of 14,000 odd crores will be raised for Yes Bank in this round. Some of the market estimates said that Yes Bank requires upwards of 20,000 crore rupees. So it does look like there will be a second round of fundraising. But as Timsy Jaipuria had reported, even LIC looking to pick up 135 crore equity shares. Leaving that aside, if 4 or 5 other investors come on board, this will easily, total up to over 14,000 crores. We're just awaiting final confirmations on some of these numbers, but at least, this amount is guaranteed, which is 7,000 crores from SBI, another 1,000 crores from ICICI Bank. So 8,000 crores of the 14,000 crores already taken care of there.
Yes, we will have to wait for that notification. Any update, Ritu, from your sources on when we could expect that notification?
Well, Shireen, when we spoke to Prashant Kumar, he said that along with the results on Saturday, 14th of March, that is tomorrow, it'll be amply clear what the funding requirement is and who the investors that are looking to invest in Yes Bank are going to be. So we are expecting a full clarity on the list of investors led by the lead bank, SBI, and the total quantum of investment that will be going in the first round at least for Yes Bank, along with the results, which are slated to be released tomorrow morning, sometime around 11:30, 11:45 is the press conference that will be addressed by the administrator.
Okay, Ritu, hang in there. I'll come back to you. Let's go across to Ashwin Parekh, Managing Partner of Ashwin Parekh Advisory Services. Mr. Parekh, many thanks for joining us. That decision on the reconstruction scheme today being ratified by the Cabinet, but the additional information that's coming in is a confirmation, the first private sector player to confirm that it will be picking up a stake in Yes Bank is ICICI Bank. Mr. Parekh, what do you make of that?
Well, I mean, I would certainly say that the list of investors, which is now, going to be released tomorrow, and it starts with ICICI Bank. I mean, 2 things. One is SBI really commendable to the extent of stabilizing, an institution with a size of almost 220,000 crores. So very commendable, a good arrangement as well. It takes away a lot of questions that we had in our minds in terms of saying that whether this bank eventually will go the SBI way in terms of whether it will get amalgamated into it. So, I mean, now we're talking about a very different structure altogether. Very commendable to the extent names which are the investors that SBI has chosen also, they bring in a lot of sort of strength and reputation. So to that extent, the comfort to the deposit holders should be amply there, should be really there, to my mind.
Yes, that will certainly be the case. This is the first confirmation coming in from ICICI Bank. Will acquire 100 crore equity shares in Yes Bank at 10 rupees a share. That's what SBI is doing as well. We've also got R. Gopalan, the former Economic Affairs Secretary, with us. Mr. Gopalan, many thanks. The hope of the government and SBI was to get private sector players on board. ICICI Bank is the first off the bat to confirm that it will be picking up 5% stake, 100 crore equity shares in Yes Bank. Mr. Gopalan, how do you see this reconstruction scheme now finding its feet?
You see, the construction scheme is now getting unfolded. The purpose of the construction scheme, about the reconstruction scheme, about the depositors' interest, the stability of the Yes Bank, as well as the stability of the financial environment, which Finance Minister just outlined, I think they, in a large measure, are going to be fulfilled. And apart from State Bank, which lends its credibility, its expertise to manage a bank like Yes Bank, there are others who are joining in. It's a good sign that private sector banks and other private sector people are participating. It's a good sign that they are confident that this scheme will work out. All in all, I get the feeling that this is an issue which is now getting resolved. But as we go along, we have a lot of issues to look at before we say that this is going to be very good or the best under the circumstances. But that requires some more time to study the notification to know how this is going to be run. So I got some issues on that, how the management is going to work, the leeway for the management, freedom, the kind of people they are choosing for the board. A lot of issues are there. So I will reserve once those things are, unfold. But as of now, the biggest worry of depositors, interest, the stability of the Yes Bank and stability of the financial system, that has been addressed. I'm happy about that.
Yes, that certainly has been addressed. And as you pointed out, Mr. Gopalan, those details will perhaps find their way in the notification. We are awaiting that notification. Our understanding is that it might even be, today or within the next 24, 48 hours that we will see that notification coming in. And what's also important is what the Finance Minister said, that 3 working days post that notification is when the moratorium will officially be lifted, and which means the withdrawal restrictions that have been imposed will be lifted as well. And that's well ahead of the April 3rd deadline that had been put into place in that Gazette notification. So that, of course, is something that we will have to watch out for. Mr. Gopalan, we will trouble you again, sir, as we get the details of the notification. But we're awaiting other announcements from other private sector players. They may make the announcements today. Remember, the Yes Bank press conference and board meeting is tomorrow, along with the results disclosure. We will see more details coming in on the reconstruction scheme. So I would imagine that other private players like ICICI Bank, who are going to be investing in Yes Bank, may come out and make their official announcements ahead of that. So this is going to be a busy evening for us here at CNBC TV18. Do we have Sunil Srivastava, the former Deputy Managing Director of SBI, with us? Mr. Srivastava, many thanks for joining us, sir. State Bank of India has managed to do what the Yes Bank management couldn't do. It's brought in ICICI Bank. That's perhaps the first private sector player to come on board for Yes Bank. Will pick up 100 crore shares, a little over 5% equity. Your first take on that?
It's a very welcome and encouraging move when the major players of the financial system repose their faith and trust and convey that to the public, that the certainty and stability of Yes Bank is being ensured. The public need not panic. Yes Bank will come out of the woods, and I'm sure SBI is taking the lead along with the private sector banks. They will come out absolutely in the shortest possible time, in the best possible manner.
Yes. What would you now like to see in that notification, Mr. Srivastava? Mr. Gopalan, the former DA secretary, was with us, and to his point on how the board will operate, the kind of autonomy, freedom, and so on and so forth. What is it that you would like to see now? Because the administrator's role will also end 7 days after the reconstruction scheme, 7 working days after the reconstruction scheme is notified.
See, the capital has been infused. The next step would be to ensure the liquidity and the ensures that the certainty and stability of the system is conveyed to the depositors so that they continue to maintain their deposits. And then the next step would be obviously to write down the assets to their true value and recover the whatever are the problem assets. And for that, nobody is better placed than maybe SBI and ICICI and the other private banks, which can combine their might together to achieve that objective.
Mr. Srivastava, what the Finance Minister said was that this reconstruction scheme has been designed around three pillars. One, of course, is to ensure that there is stability of Yes Bank itself, but the larger stability of the financial sector has also been kept in mind while designing this reconstruction scheme for Yes Bank. There was a lot of fear that what has happened at Yes Bank could lead to a flight of depositors from other smaller private sector banks. Do you believe that that contagion impact that people were concerned about will be contained?
Yeah, with SBI continuing to hold 26% for at least 3 years, and with the entire government and the Reserve Bank of India, and now most of the major private banks also behind it, I see no reason why customers would take their deposits away. Because you remember, closing an account and opening another account and linking everything else to that account is a very tedious and time-processing job. And if the bank's continuity is ensured, why would anybody want to shift their accounts down?
Yes. Well, that certainly is going to be the hope as far as most private sector banks or banks in general, and ensuring the stability of the financial services sector is going to be critical. And with this decision and with the participation of private sector players picking up a stake in Yes Bank, the hope is that some of the frayed nerves will be soothed and calmed. Mr. Srivastava, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18 with your quick take on the details that have come in with respect to the Yes Bank reconstruction scheme. Well, we will slip into a break, but don't go anywhere. The news continues. There are more developments on this story are expected. Stay on with us. We're back in a moment.